Am I the a-hole for taking away my dad's girlfriend's keys after she tried to send me to bed? For context, I, 21 female, have 4 siblings, 26 male, 23 male, 12 female, and 10 male. Our uncle has been our legal guardian since our mom passed, and my dad has been out of our lives. My 23-year-old brother and I are home for the summer from college. My oldest brother lives in the city. Since we've come home, my uncle's been away on a work trip, so it's just been me and my siblings around the house. Further context, my dad used to be a problem drinker and was basically estranged for half of my life. Very limited contact. And growing up, it's always been my siblings and me taking care of each other. For the past year or so, my dad has been wanting to reconnect with us, mainly my younger siblings. He's been getting better in his habits. He was clean for 3 years and managed to keep his act together. Because of this, we've allowed a couple of visits from time to time. 4 months ago, he started seeing someone new, quite a bit younger than him, in her 30s, and she seems to have this strange obsession with playing mom. She visits way more frequently than he does, and seems to be under the impression that she's our new stepmom. I think it's kind of weird, but we just let her do her thing since she's not harming anyone. She does have this patronizing way of addressing us. It's better with my older brothers, but with me, it gets a little ridiculous sometimes. Again, I kinda just ignore it and go about my own business. A few weeks before my brother and I came home, she was helping my uncle pick up our younger siblings from school and driving them home. Because of that, she was given a key to the house. Since then, she's been around all the time and just playing parent to my younger siblings, but not really doing much because my older brothers and I take care of the responsibilities. In short, the situation started when we had her and my dad over for dinner. My brothers cooked a great meal, and it was all going well, until my dad ended up making a very insensitive and inappropriate joke during dinner, and she corroborated that joke by making a really ugly insinuation about our late mother. Not gonna get into that. We saw them out, and that was that. We put the kids to bed and talked about what happened, and informed our uncle about the situation. We were all unsure of what to do. The next afternoon, both my brothers were busy with work and I picked up the kids from school and got home to my dad's girlfriend in our kitchen. This was the first time she let herself in when nobody was home, and it caught me kinda off guard. She had basically come to apologize on my dad's behalf. She said that he felt so ashamed he couldn't bear coming here. I sent the kids to their rooms and explained the situation to her. I also communicated to her that I found her comment to be extremely inappropriate and in poor taste. She started laughing it off, but I was clear with her that we wouldn't tolerate anything like that again. And then she said something like, "Oh, it's so cute that you're trying to be their mom/their adult." I kinda just blinked at her. The remainder of that conversation, she had that same attitude, just not taking me seriously and treating me patronizingly. Naturally, I got fed up and got started on dinner. I don't know where she went for the next while. I think she went into the kids' rooms to help them with homework, but she stuck around for the rest of the night. Out of the kindness of my heart, I cooked extra food for her, even though she didn't ask for permission to stay. And lo and behold, she stayed for dinner. Later on in the night, she was fawning over the kids again, and around 10, in her stepmom manner, she was like, "Okay, my dears, it's time for bed." My younger siblings were in the living room watching TV. They're usually pretty disciplined at going to bed themselves. At this, they looked over to me, gave me the look like, "What is this lady doing?" And I just shrugged and they went off to their rooms because it was close to their usual bedtime anyway. Now wait for this. I'm in the kitchen cleaning up. Dad's girlfriend is on her phone at the island. She looks up at me and says, "You too, hun." It crosses my mind that she could have been joking, but I realized after a moment that this was not a joke, and she was in fact sending me to bed. So naturally I say, "What?" She says, "It's getting late. Time for bed," and kind of tuts at me. To remind you guys, I am 21 years old. I go to college and am working almost full-time this summer. I've been taking care of my family since I was 12. This woman has been dating my estranged father for barely half a year. So I give her the benefit of the doubt that she clearly has some mental issues and is a little crazy. I tell her I think it's time that she went home. She is insistent that I go on to bed, still acting like she's my mom. This gets me a little ticked off. I explained to her that I feel disrespected being talked to like that, and that I'm an adult. And as an extension to our previous conversation, I need her to take me seriously because I don't joke around about my family or my siblings, and she is on thin ice. She continues to laugh me off and goes on in a super patronizing tone. Again, she uses the phrase, "It's so cute when teenagers try to act like adults." Throws in some stuff about me having a hissy fit and being rebellious. At this point, I'm just so fed up with everything. I simply say, "You have 5 minutes to get your things and leave this house." In response, she scoffs and gets up and walks off to the bathroom. And on the way, I hear her say something along the lines of, "No wonder your dad says you're a frigid little priss." When she's in the bathroom, I go over to her handbag and her keys on the couch. She has a gigantic key ring and a ton of keys, so knowing she won't notice, I remove our house key from the ring. Then I go back to my room. I hear her leave maybe 20 minutes later. The next day, I get a bunch of texts from her panicking about the key. I told her I took it. She said some stuff, called me a brat, saying she was going to tell my uncle and brothers, and that I was being childish. I told her I was at work, and if she wanted to talk, she could call me at 4. Otherwise, she could go bother my brothers about it, but they were at work too, so good luck with that. She went off again with the "stop pretending to be an adult" thing, and said that my younger siblings were like her kids, and she needed to take care of them, and this was unsafe. The last text I sent her was, "This is the last I'll say this. You've been disrespectful of me and my brothers since we met, and dismissed my attempts to communicate with you. I'm no longer investing energy into enduring your behavior. I'm going to be honest, there is very little chance that you are going to get that key back, and this is not helping those chances. Like I said, 4 p.m., you can call." She yapped some more, then blew up my brother's phones and texted my uncle as well. I'm writing this as this is occurring. I told my brothers a bit about what happened when she came over, but they don't know the full story. My uncle is also in the dark about this, but I'll tell them what happened if I need to. Look, I don't doubt that in her heart she does truly care for my younger siblings. I don't think she's a bad person or anything. Plus, my uncle trusted her enough to give her entry into his house. She just really ticked me off. Her whole stepmom act is also really facetious to me. I'd have no problem letting her help out around the house if she was respectful and communicated that's what she wanted. Anyways, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Am I the only one confused as to why she seems to be under the delusion or impression that you're a teenager? You don't owe her anything, but you should hold a family meeting to confront and figure out what your dad is telling her, and set the record straight. See, I wish this were a whole misunderstanding, but she knows my age. We've talked about these parts of my life in light conversation. She knows I'm coming home from college with my brother, and even then, I'm working my butt off driving the kids to school, picking them up, packing them lunch, going to work, driving them to sports, making dinners. Even if I was 17, that earns some respect to my name, and a rite of passage to being an adult, I feel like. Not the a-hole. This woman is not mentally well. Good job for looking out for your family. OP needs to keep this nutter away from the younger siblings. She is insane. It would be a really good idea to rekey the house locks and make sure that Dad and his girlfriend never get another key. The situation is unsafe for the younger kids. Now for the update. So, after Dad's girlfriend's freak out, my uncle called me and said, "What's this she's saying about you stole her keys and kicked her out?" And he was already laughing as he said this, because he knows and trusts me, and he knows I'm a level-headed person. And I told him, yeah, she tried to put me to bed and called me a priss. And that cracked him up hard. When I told my brothers too, they were like, "Wow, I'm surprised you didn't knock her out." They both knew she could be a little weird, but never had she been like that. I think it was because it was the first time she and I were alone. She is not coming back to the house, not picking up the kids again. Only sees the kids when they hang out with Dad and oldest brother is around. My uncle has full custody of kids. They are safe. There is more nutty stuff going on with her though. We'll have another update prepared soon. It's gonna be very interesting. Next story, update. Am I overreacting when I told my boyfriend I was uncomfortable with his friend who abused his ex? Original post. I and my boyfriend has this childhood friend, we'll call him Alan. They've been close since like middle school. Cool, whatever. Anyway, a month ago, Alan's girlfriend dumped him because he was cheating. Not just texting other girls, but also guys. Had Grindr and like 3 other apps, literally scheduling hookups behind her back. Super grimy stuff. When she found out and ended things, rightfully, he apparently lost it. He begged her to take him back, and when she wouldn't, he snapped. From what I heard, he grabbed her by the throat and pinned her down. Then later, he keyed her car and slashed her tires. Yeah, real unhinged behavior. I didn't know the full story. Until yesterday, one of my girlfriends filled me in. I had seen my boyfriend hanging out with Alan a few times recently, but I thought it was just like casual, checking in on him stuff. Once I found out what really happened, I was livid. I called my boyfriend and told him straight up, what Alan did is seriously messed up, and I don't get why you're still hanging out with him. He kinda tried to defend it, saying Alan's going through stuff and that he's known him forever, so it's hard to cut him off. He even said he warned Alan that if he ever touches another girl again, he'd beat him up. I told him I just assumed he'd drop anyone who did something that disgusting. Like, that should be a no-brainer, right? He went all quiet, told me good night, and hung up. He didn't text me at all the next day. Not a single hey or good morning. Nothing. So I talked to my mom about it, because moms are wise, and she helped me write out a message to try and explain where I'm coming from. I sent it to him, hoping it would get through. Spoiler, it didn't. He doubled down, said he didn't want to be the kind of friend who ditches someone when they're down. He literally said, that's the difference between me and you, and that it's the Christian thing to forgive and support people, even when they mess up. Like, okay, sure, forgiveness is fine, but supporting a guy who choked and stalked his ex, that's your hill to die on? He ended the convo by saying he had a lot to think about, then dipped again. And honestly, I'm not even mad anymore, just kind of stunned and over it. Now for the top comments before reading the update. For a long time, I tried to convince myself that my boyfriend at the time was different than all of his friends, who were, and from what I hear, are still terrible people. Cheating, abusive to their significant others emotionally and sometimes physically, womanizing, etc. It turns out that you are who you surround yourself with. My husband doesn't have any friend who does anything that either of us would find offensive or awful. His friends are all wonderful stand-up people. My friends are all as well. I realized when I dumped my ex that he really was the same as his friends. He checked almost every box on the list of awful behavior before I broke up with him. You're better off without this dude OP. Also, throwing the phrase, it's the Christian thing to do around to sound sanctimonious, and like he's doing the right thing, and also insinuating that you're not as good of a person as he is ridiculous and a trash move. I hope you can see through that too. I'm not religious, but using his religion to cover for his friend's abuse is really nuts. Good riddance to your now ex. Exactly. The Christian thing for OP's boyfriend to do would be to check on his former friend's ex and see if there's anything he can do to help her, and for him to tell the former friend that he needs to get help, and until he changes his ways, he won't have anything to do with him. And if he does, maybe he gets a chance then. I don't think your boyfriend's views match yours, and I don't think you should stay in a relationship where he makes excuses for his male friend's abusive actions. When I was in my 20s, I was in the car with my ex, who was driving, and his friend in the back. Something happened, and my boyfriend got mad at me and said, I should punch you for that. His mate leaned forward between the front seats in a heartbeat to tell him that if he ever said that again, he was going to get knocked out. That is a real man. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should be leaving this relationship. Now for the update. So, I gave him space. A few days went by. No calls, no texts, no I've been thinking message like I halfway expected. Just silence. And I don't know what I thought would happen. That he'd come to his senses? Realize this isn't just about being a loyal friend, but about basic decency? Respecting boundaries? Apparently not. I finally reached out again, mostly because I couldn't stand the limbo anymore. I told him, I'm not asking you to be heartless. I'm asking you to draw a line. Abuse isn't a mistake you just wave off. And if you're choosing to stand by someone who did that, it makes me question your values." His response? A whole wall of text about how I don't understand male friendship, how he's trying to be a better influence for Alan, and how it's not his job to police his friends. He said I'm being too black and white and judgmental. And I just sat there staring at my screen. Like, how did we get here? I told him flat out, if you want to be friends with a guy who choked his girlfriend and vandalized her car, that's your choice. But it's also my choice not to be with someone who's okay with that. We haven't spoken since. I think the saddest part is realizing that the guy I thought I was building something with, someone I trusted, doesn't really see the problem. Or maybe he does, but not enough to act on it. And that says a lot. So yeah, I'm heartbroken, but I'm not confused anymore. I lost my best friend and lots of other friends due to 2 separate instances of abuse and SA. Now I have far fewer friends, but even though I was sad about losing them at first, I actually feel so much better now in general about my own mental health and boundaries. And the friends that I do have left are amazing and so supportive. Anyway, my point is that you did the right thing. This guy doesn't care about what happened to the person that got SA'd. He's shown you his true colors, and you believed him. I know I'm just a stranger on the internet, but I'm very proud of you. You stood up for something that you believed to be wrong, and you stuck by your own morals when it really mattered. Thank you. Reading this makes me feel I'm not alone and you're understanding me. Male here. I haven't been in this exact same situation, but I was part of something similar. I used to have a male friend with whom I was super close for about a decade. We hung out all the time. I was the best man in his wedding. He and his wife decided to open up their marriage, and I started noticing that he was behaving strangely. He kept asking me how my own relationship was. He brought up the idea of swinging with my girlfriend, and we both dismissed it. Things came to a head when he showed up somewhere he knew my girlfriend was going to be. He didn't know I was going to be there too, and was genuinely shocked to see me. He decided to shoot his shot and said he went there to see if my girlfriend would be interested in hooking up with him. To her credit, she responded, "Well, I'm glad you came all the way down here so I could reject you in person." She told me that she didn't care if I wanted to stay friends with this guy, but that she felt uncomfortable around him and wouldn't allow herself to be near him any longer. I immediately dropped that friendship without a second thought. My girlfriend is now my wife. We just hit our 5-year wedding anniversary. I've never regretted ending that friendship, not even once. Anyway, I know there are people saying you shouldn't put boundaries on this guy, but I don't think that's what you've done here. You put a boundary on yourself. You're self-aware enough to know that you can't be with a guy who doesn't see the problematic behavior of his friend, and you shouldn't have to subject yourself to a relationship with someone like that. I'm sorry you had to deal with that, but I'm proud of you for making the decision that's best for you.